record this. So, good evening, everyone, or good morning, or good night, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you so much for joining us today at the Pathways After Hour, where we have a special guest presenting a special session about maximizing our Pathways experience. Our speaker today is Pauline, who's a distinguished Toastmaster from District 1, who believes that self-improvement is the key to a bright future. She's very passionate about sharing her insights on pathways. She has uncovered how creative and flexible pathways can be and how it can be used to grow and expand our knowledge. While we are thriving, we are productive, happy, and kind. And that's what Pauline is going to teach us all about today. With that, it's over to you, Pauline. Take
Great.
it away.
Thank you very much. And I'll go ahead and share my screen. So today we're going to talk about how to maximize your pathways experience. And I'm calling this create your game plan for 2024. And the reason why I call it a game plan is because this is your mission. If you choose to accept it, is today we're going to experience the amazing potential of how Toastmasters can actually make you more productive in 2024. And my promise to you today is that when we're finished within this 45 minutes or so, you're going to leave with a brand new perspective on pathways. And this is going to be interactive. I would like you to be joining in with the conversation at some point during the presentation. So we're going to have an adventure of creativity and fun. And I just want to start with a question. If you have ever been to base camp and did any projects, you'll see this question as your pre and post assessment. And it's asked you, I recognize how this project applies to my life outside of Toastmaster. And I'm going to leave this as a question for you to just ponder on throughout this presentation. So this is the path that I created called Maximize Your Pathway Experience. It has 5 steps to it. By identifying, or what we're going to do is we're using pathways as a tool to help you accomplish one of your professional or personal goals. So we'll start with defining the goal, and then we'll look into why this is important. As we all know, anchoring that why, or anchoring the reason or the intention, is what helps us to drive or move forward. And of course, that also helps if we know where's the outcome or the endpoint. So third step of this pathways experience framework or process is to anchor in that future vision. And that's where we start breaking down our goals into tasks. And the last step, which is where pathways and Toastmasters come in, is to match these projects with your task. So it's still kind of New Year's. And if you asked anybody about New Year's resolution, health is usually a top one, top on their list. And so I did a Google search, and this is funny. You can look at it in the middle, it's that from sources across the web. I like that. But either way, these are what healthy New Year's resolution came up. And I could kind of divide it into 4 categories: quality sleep, healthy eating, staying active, and also emotional balance. So what I want to do today is I want to show you or demonstrate how I'm going to take one of these goals. And by the way, I'm going to pick healthy eating, and show you how I create this game plan for 2024 using Pathways projects. Does that sound like something that you guys are interested in knowing more? Thumbs up? No thumbs up? Okay, I see some thumbs up. Okay, good. So this is how I would say for New Year's resolution is everybody has a goal, but it doesn't get accomplished because most people don't have a plan, action steps, and support. So let's see how I could fit this into Pathways. So today, due to the time we have, I'm only going to go through step 1, step 4, and step 5 of that process, so as to just give you a taste of what this is. So first, let's take a look at step 1, which is to define your goal. In a way, it's actually clarifying your goal, because we need clarity for anything you want to do. It doesn't matter if it's Toastmasters, work, family, personal, you have to have that clarity. Because the clarity comes the action steps, and that's where your task can be. You can come up with a task and complete them and then accomplish your goals. And every one of you probably have heard of something called SMART goals, and it's an acronym, SMART. That helps you to look at your goal and make it more clear. So S stands for specific, M stands for measurable, A is achievable, R is relatable, and then T is time bound. So think about that healthy goal or healthy eating goal that I just said we're going to play with. How can I make it more of, quote, air quotes, smart? And we, as Toastmasters, especially if you have ever done an evaluation, is that you always want to add in this extra question to challenge yourself, ... right? If you're giving an evaluation. So on top of SMART, I also want you to think about 3 additional things, which is healing, growth, and expansion. How does this goal help to heal whatever you want to heal and also grow and expand yourself? Because we're all here to learn, to grow, and expand. So this is what I came up with. Well, my healthy eating goal, I'm clarifying it or redefining it to redesigning my backyard so I can grow organic produce in spring. As you can see, there are now a lot more specificity. It's very relatable and achievable. And I'm actually going to probably get healthier and maybe able to change my lifestyle. So does that make sense of how you make it a little bit more specific? And now I know what steps, or I can now start thinking about what steps can I take to get to this goal. So that brings us to step number 4, which is how do we break down these goals into tasks? So what we're looking for is like any kind of like key milestones that I know I'm improving, or any like smaller goals or sub goals. But the key here is I want you, when you're playing with your own process, is to really list down task, or what do I need to do to get there? And if you don't know, this would be a great time to maybe do some research to find out what exactly does it take for me to get from point A to point B. So in our goal for creating this backyard organic garden, I figure out that I'll need to know what to grow, right? Because every different climates, I would have to grow different things. And irrigation is an important thing because we all know water bill can add up. So how do I utilize what I have or create some kind of irrigation solution? And of course, sunlight is important because I'm talking about my backyard. What if my backyard has a huge tree over it and it's shaded most of the day? So those are all things that I need to consider: what to plant, how to, divide up the lot in my backyard. And of course, I can't do this myself. I'll need a lot of help. So how do I get support and enlist others to help me? And last, very important, is I'll need a blueprint, or I need some sort of a plan. And do I do this DIY, or do I want to get somebody to help me out? So anybody have any other suggestions in terms of tasks that they can think of for this goal of creating this organic backyard garden? Nothing?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, so you cover so water because drought, all those things, challenges may, I mean, it's not usual, but some cases, so we need a water is an important task, so in our goals.
Right.
So
So that
probably
would be a great
consider
thing
that.
to add to your list if you're doing this yourself and you're trying to break down the goals, is that think about everything that you can think of that you can break down. Because once we get it broken down, that's where we're going to go into matching these with Pathways projects to help us accomplish the goals. Because we need some sort of a structure, a framework to get us to get going on our things. So why not use something that we already go to, every week or every other week to help us? So let's take a look at Pathways. And just to jump back a little bit, while you think about that goal for a little bit, is we all know about Pathways, that currently there's 11 paths. So it offers a lot of options and flexibility. Problem is, if you look at this, is that it's very complicated. Or people get scared of, I don't want to choose a path because I don't know what to choose from. So what I wanted to share today is that, what about the common stuff? Or what's common across all paths? Let's not think about what's different. Let's just think about what's common or what I can do to take those steps. And so I plotted out all the paths, all the projects on an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, nerd here. And I found out that there were a lot of projects that were common to all paths. And here's the snip of the spreadsheet on level 1, and also one project from level 2 and one project from level 5. And you can see all 11 paths does the same project. So even if you don't know what to do, or if you have somebody that just signed up to be a Toastmasters today, you can get them to do the icebreaker right away because everybody's going to do the icebreaker. And you can still apply that to pathways. So you do not have to do any speeches or any projects outside that pathways framework at this time. And what is also interesting is it turned out all elective projects are available for all paths. And I have listed all of them here. I know this is too small for you to read, and that's not the point, but I want you to see that it's either a check mark or a letter M on it. And the letter M here is, it's a mandatory project for that particular path because it actually helps with the core competencies of that particular path. So when it is a mandatory project, it will just not be an elective when you come to choose electives. But basically, you can take a look at this, is that there is 15 plus 8 plus 6, which is 29 projects here that anybody can do. So there is no reason at this point to have a complaint that I don't know what project to do, or I don't, or something along that line, is because it's just a matter of how you tailor them. So in summary, there's only 60 projects across 11 paths. And each path, in order to complete it, you have to do at least 15 projects. And by the way, this is the minimum. You can do up to, it's probably not 60, but you can probably do all the electives if you choose to without having to pay an extra dime. But for path completion, you need 15 projects, but that's still 25% of the projects. So it's not like, so the variety or the flexibility, it's there, but it's really not to confuse you. So the key here is really just to pick a path and start if you haven't picked anything. And the key are really the projects. And 35 out of 60 projects are available to all paths. So another reiteration that it is really about tailoring them to your needs. And remember that we're playing this goal of creating this organic backyard. So that's our needs here. And so how do we use these projects to do that? And so this is another way of looking at this, or looking at pathways, is that there's actually 3 sections to it. The way I see this is there's the one big section called the level 1 to 5 mandatory projects. And I just showed you that 6. And there's 29 elective projects, and everybody have access to all of these. So the path specific, for example, if you're doing the dynamic coaching path, they have something about coaching. And obviously that's very specific to those people on that path that you don't need to. So there's only a few projects that's path specific, but pretty much everything is in this middle section here. So that's why we have a lot of room to play with. It's just about your creativity. And how do you intend for these projects to be? Do you intend them to just do it for the sake of doing it, or do you intend to use it as a tool to help you accomplish your goals? So here are the 35 common projects. And I've already mentioned these 4 projects in level 1. And then we have the Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring as a level 2 mandatory project. And everybody finishes off with Reflect on Your Path. And there's 15 level 3 electives. I'm not going to read through this. You can just kind of quickly glance over this. And there's also 8 level 4s and 6 level 5. As you can see, 35 projects that does not matter what path you choose. You can still do them. The key here is, again, figuring out how this applies to what you're trying to do. So let's go back and look at our plan again. So we want to redesign our backyard to grow organic produce. And we already broken it down to a few different tasks or goals. Irrigation, sunlight, help, blueprints, what to grow, for example. So this is just an example. So this is just to show you how flexible pathways can be. Of course, there are other goals, but I just want to use some to just give you a sense of what I'm talking about. So now we're going to try and to match these tasks with Pathways project. So an overview. This is a goal or a project that is very active, or there's a very heavy visual component. And obviously, I might be the one giving the speeches or completing the projects. I'll need a lot of help to actually get this done. And there's also a longer term project that might take months. to get started and to see the outcomes. And so the key here is that it's not about pathways. It is about your goal, right? Pathways is just a way to help you out, but it is really about your own personal achievement or your personal goals. So the key here is that you have to already probably be thinking about, how do I document the process and maybe show my bounty at the end. So this is, something to kind of get you to start thinking about, okay, so how does this apply to projects? And so out of that 35, I decided I'm just going to pick a few to show you how I'm going to tweak them. So I picked writing a speech with purpose. I picked evaluation and feedback. I also picked creative, effective visual aids, inspire your audience, know your sense of humor, building a social media presence, manage projects successfully, writing a compelling blog, and prepare to speak professionally. So I picked 9 projects. And we'll go through a few of these. I don't think we'll be able to go through everyone today. But as you can see, they are really a variety of different projects I picked. And I just want to show you how I apply it to my backyard garden here. Any questions, or you guys are good? Okay, keep going. Okay, so now I want to do is let me go ahead and switch over. I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to share these as a virtual background so we can actually have a little bit of a conversation. Okay, here we go. I'm a little small. Let me make myself a little bigger. Okay. Okay, great. So what I wanted to do is now let's have a little bit of discussion. I picked the project. I'm going to give you a title or a topic that I want to talk about, and I want you guys to start thinking about, what can I talk about? So as we know, most speeches are 5 to 7 minutes. So we're looking at probably about 3 to 5 key ideas or points that we want to talk about in each speech. So this is also when you're doing your task, is like, what are the little things I needed to get done? Because the topic is one thing, but what are you going to talk about? Or what are lessons that you've learned through this process is what we can now kind of have a little bit of discussion. So let's see. So here we go. Okay, so this is the first one, writing a speech with purpose. So I picked a topic called why grow produce rather than flowers. So anybody have ideas of what I could talk about in this speech that relates to my goal? So one thing I can think of is things in the grocery stores are extremely expensive. I don't know if this is the right word to say it, but man, the prices just keeps going up. It's like, how does a dozen of eggs get to be like $5 or something? So rising food costs would be one thing that I really want to talk about of why growing produce than flowers. Anything else that you guys can think of? And just shout it out. This is a small group, so it's good. Just unmute yourself, unless you have a lot of background noise. So another thing I think of is, farm to table movement, right? So this is going to be great if I could grow my own produce, that I could have, bring heirloom varietals, farm to table components. And I personally am into fermentation. So when I have a lot of produce, I can ferment them. So these are some things that comes through that further define or further clarify the goals and things I could do or accomplish within this goal or this guideline. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anybody else can have any ideas of what we can do with writing a speech of purpose with this title called Why Grow Produce Rather Than Flowers?
I think they make good gifts as well, Pauline, in case you're visiting somebody, taking a basket full of fresh fruit or
Right.
any kind of produce.
So there's this component of love and care and community, right? So you see how like this is completely now personal to me. It's not really, it's like it's a pathways project, but you see how this is now personal. If I'm able to share my fruits and vegetables, especially if I fermented my cabbage or lemons. Fermented lemons are really, really good, by the way. So I could share them, I could give that as gift. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the second project. And I picked evaluation and feedback. And I mentioned that one of the major task that we have to accomplish is to get help and support. So that's why I picked this title. It's like, what are 5 ways to add more vegetables to my family's diet? Because if my family liked the vegetables, then we'll eat them. If not, they'll rot. Right? So any ideas of what are some ways that you can add more vegetables to your family's diet? So one thing I could think of is like soups, right? If you make veggie soups, sometimes you can even do like noodles. Like if you grow zucchini, you can make zucchini noodles. If you're making any kind of tomato-based sauce, adding some mashed carrots would work. I could do veggie chips. I could do, veggie kebabs or something. So you see how you get, like, I'm hoping to get you to start thinking, what are some things I could talk about? What are some ways that I could use these projects? And also now I'm excited. As you can tell, it's like, I'm really excited about the veggie kebabs and I'm sweating because I got lights on me. But you see how, like, that this will add the passion, the love, the care, the fun into all these projects. So it's now not a chore. And by the way, if you think about this, the project is there really to create the guidelines or the framework or the structure, but it's really me accomplishing something. So let's jump to the third one, which is creating effective visual aids. So this one is, I look at this as, creating that blueprint, because that's important. And remember, the blueprint is something that I probably would have to take pictures, either take picture of the blueprint or my little, stretch, drawings on the back of a napkin, or maybe a real blueprint, or maybe pictures of my backyard. And this project actually helps you or teaches you to use 1 to 3 different types of visual aids, like a drawing, a photo, or presentation software. So you see how I could use this project to enhance what I'm already doing. And one thing I want to mention here is really by, we're looking at the third project, is you see that the projects or the speeches are not the start. They're almost like the completion or the end of what I'm doing here, because it's almost like a report of what I have accomplished, but it creates that accountability. And so I could use this project. I could either illustrate or show my blueprints, or I could use the blueprints and maybe, measurements on my garden to show the lessons I've learned in terms of what I can do. And if you're really into, say, an organic garden, you know that a lot of people are now doing raised beds. So you don't have to, squat and kneel down, and it's easy on the knees. So that might be something that would be actually beneficial to even your club members or other people around your community. And by the way, once you have a speech done, and if there's a community gathering and you want to go talk about your organic garden, you can, and you already got a speech, and you got another chance to even practice. So you see, everything here is really looking at your own purpose. Anybody want to add anything to this creating effective visual aids project? Okay, let's jump to another one. So this one I am doing Inspire Your Audience. And this one is probably pretty self-explanatory because I need buy-in from my family. So what are other buy-ins I can think about in addition to adding more vegetables to our diet? What else can I do? Right? So you see how the projects and these titles, it's actually also helping me get more ideas on my goals. So I'm thinking about, okay, kids, maybe we need to visit some sort of like a garden, or maybe I need tools that is kid friendly so they can actually have a little plot of land and grow their own things. So now I'm even just going through this exercise, it's giving me more ideas of what I really wanted to do and what I can do. And also, if you think about it, it's like we're in California, or most of us, I think, we need to enjoy that sunshine, that nature, the connection of nature. We have spent so much time in front of a computer indoors that just having the garden could have been, some kind of a daily routine or events that the whole family can actually participate. So you see how as I said, the more I talk about this, the more I get passionate about this. And this is, by the way, not a true goal. This is just to give you an example. I do not have plans to create my own organic produce garden. But as you can tell, is that I'm really like getting like super excited to get the buy-in and get the support. And it's not just your immediate family, because you might want to get your next door neighbor or somebody from down the street to help you out, because maybe I need to go on a trip and I want to make sure that my garden's, taken care of. So these projects are here to really, number one, give you a chance to complete them and share some of what you've learned. And it also creates that clarity, or such you to think about your goals in ways that if I'm not doing this, you might not even think about all these things. And so you see how they kind of like the chicken and egg. I don't know which one comes first, but they add to each other. They're mutually beneficial. By going through something like this at the beginning of the project or the beginning of your goal. So let's go in and talk about know your sense of humor. So this one is a little bit outside your normal way thinking about the goal of the garden. And I actually wrote this as a title of how do I compete with wildlife and insects that like my produce. And like I said, this is a little bit of a pivot, but it's bringing in that storytelling component that I think every one of us should be learning, because communication is one thing, but it's that story or the conversations that actually get us to resonate with each other. And at healthy eating, if I'm really going for the sort of like, it can also be very dry and boring. And with this, it adds in or it lightens it up. So a true story here. We're growing tomatoes, and all of a sudden there was a lot of birds coming. And we were kind of talking about enjoying the birds and hearing the songs and everything, didn't realize that they came for the tomatoes. So our plan for summer tomatoes became a sour note because we didn't have as many tomatoes as we thought we had because the birds ate them. So this is humor, but it really brings in part of this. It still is applicable because it is true. Wildlife and insects will going to eat some of them. So how do you protect them? Does that make sense? Okay, great. So let's go and take a look at number 6, or the 6 projects. And you see how each of these projects does kind of addresses different parts of the task list, that I'm not only doing one, I'm actually kind of, jumping around and looking at different aspects that can actually help me to clarify, get more done for that goal. So the last one I want to kind of really talk about is building a social media presence. And when you have produce, and like what we mentioned earlier, you want to share with friends, you want to give it as gifts. So connecting with other backyard organic gardeners around your community is important. So this is an example that my co-creator of this process, Erica, did. So she actually did a social media thing on her community. And so this was at the early of the pandemic, and she was walking around her neighborhood, seeing that there was an overflowing of produce in her neighborhood. And so she started she put this up on Facebook, is to share your bounty. So she wanted to, and it's a little small, but she wanted to do a win-win project of swapping and exchanging bounty and that was the beginning of the pandemic. So there were, long lines at grocery stores, if we remember, that was not that long ago, and to change it to really sharing and having the abundance. So it can definitely work for the project or anything that you are passionate about to work on. So with that, I'm not going to go into details, but I got 3 more projects. So I'm just going to quickly go over that, which is like manage projects successfully. That's a level 4. That's a level 4 elective, and also a mandatory projects with certain paths. And I wanted to pick the best tool for managing the redesign of my backyard. And of course, writing a compelling blog would be a great project for us to do, because I'm already going to be documenting. So I could easily complete this without putting in extra work, but still applicable to my goal. And the last thing I did was, let me, which side? Okay, this side. Left to right doesn't make sense on Zoom. And the last project I picked is prepare to speak professionally. And this is an 18 to 22-minute speech. And I wrote down a title of what are some of the thrills and challenges of growing my own produce. Because if I'm being realistic, remember relevance, and there's an R in SMART goals. And, being realistic is that maybe I don't get a lot the first year around. Maybe I didn't know certain things I needed to do, or maybe, right? So that could be obstacles. And so this would be a great one to sort of complete this whole idea of my garden, and to maybe show a little bit about what happened, say, 6 months, a year later. As you can see, these are all very much related to that goal, but in different aspects of what I wanted to do. So any questions? And I wanted to now give every one of you a little bit of time to just take out a piece of paper or your computer and just maybe jot some notes down on your own goals and something that you picked up from what I just presented. And I'm going to say, let's do about maybe 3 minutes.
Sure. Pauline, is there a recommended number of projects you think, or it should just depend on the project or goal that we are trying to accomplish?
Explain that again.
Suppose my goal is working out for this year. So do you think I should relate that to a X amount of Pathways project, or any number should be okay?
The projects are here to help you out. So you can pick as many or as little as you want. And by the way, I might not everything is going to be applicable.
Right.
But the thing is, I still have a little bit of material to go over, but I just want you to just jot some notes down first, because this is kind of fresh in your mind. Because let's talk about that in a bit. And I'm just going to put 2 minutes on the clock, so just to give you a little bit of time to just jot some notes down and to see if you have any question, or just kind of, review it and think about it.
Pauline, I have a quick question. So the question is the goal, identify the goal, and then what is the second part of your question?
Right, so let's just give everybody 60 more seconds to just jot some notes down, and then we will do questions and answer later. I do want you to be able to capture some ideas that just came through. We got 30 more seconds, so it's not going to be too long. Okay, let's keep going. So hopefully that gave you some ideas of what to do. And I have a few final thoughts and comments. Is, as you can tell, all projects are matched to task or my goal. There is no reason, if you're going to use this method, there's no reason that you ever have this complaint of, I don't know what to talk about. Because as you can see, I planned everything out ahead of time. And the second thing is that every one of them are building blocks. I'm not starting any project from scratch. They might be about a different area, different topic, but they all comes together. So when it comes to writing or presenting, you're going to have a very nice, almost like a path or a journey that you're no longer, like I said, you're no longer haphazardly doing projects just for the sake of doing projects. And the last thing I want to talk a little bit about here and to answer Reggie's question is when you sign up for a path, everything is open at the same time. And you can do as little or as much as you want to. And of course, you know, from a club and a district perspective, we obviously wanted members to complete levels. But I gotta have to say is that if you don't care too much about completing levels, or you just really want to be able to get the benefit of this education system, you can pick projects that matches your interests or your passion or your goals and just do them the way you designed it to do. The key here is that if you do want level completions, it has to be chronological. So keep good records, because say, for example, if I'm going to manage projects successfully by looking at my blueprint and redesign, that's a level 4 project. So it might be 6 months or maybe even a year before I might be actually getting my VPE or my Basecamp manager to approve that. So I just need to make sure I got good records, or either a video of my presentation, or I have an Excel spreadsheet, or some sort of like a way for us to verify that you did it. So as long as you keep good records, nothing has to be chronological in terms of accomplishing your goals. So this is something that I would say it frees us up, because no longer, you do not have to do level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to level 5. You can actually, the way I would suggest Toastmasters to do is actually plan out your big projects. Take the top-down approach. Look at everything that takes a long time or takes a lot of effort. Get those, you know, planted into your calendar first. Because if, say, for example, if it's only going to be a speech, say, inspired your audience, like I mentioned, to get buy-in from my family, I could easily whip that up in a week. But if I'm doing the blueprint, or if I'm looking at, you know, putting in some sort of an irrigation system in my backyard, that's going to take maybe weeks, if not months. And sometimes if you're doing any kind of construction, if it's raining, you can't do that. So those things comes first. And then you can always plug in the smaller projects into this mix. And so let's go back to our New Year's resolution. So why is this good? Why is this good for us? It's because not only do I have a goal, I now have plans. I also have action steps. So if I really have any kind of New Year's resolution for example, my healthy eating, this is the chances of me accomplishing this has grown exponentially. So how about support? Well, that's why we're Toastmasters. Because your club, in addition to Pathways, is here to support you. All your regular meetings, your speeches, and signing up for roles and signing of speeches are all here to create that structure, that framework, and that accountability. And you get this for $60 every 6 months. So where else can you go for that? And by the way, like what do we have here? Everybody is very supportive, and it's very friendly, and it's a safe environment. So even if I bombed a speech, so what, right? Maybe it's worth repeating it so I get better. But nobody is going to say do something less positive than say in a different environment. So this is really something that I don't know if many of us think about Toastmasters this way, but it really is something that is very special. And by the way, if you have any kind of leadership projects, or you want to develop your leadership skills, really look into the district level, because there's a lot of leadership opportunities within the district in the regular calendar year. So check in and check in with them, especially if you want to learn more about, you know, organization development. So definitely, I think it's also a call out to really look into helping out with the district. And with that, that's my process. So step 1 is to define the goal. Step 2 and 3 that we didn't have chance to go over is to really know the why or the reason behind that goal. and to anchor in what is your future vision or what outcomes you want to have, so as to get that pull. So what this too is sort of almost like the inner work part of, development, personal development, where I'm giving you that push, which is the why, and that future vision, which is the pull. So with the push and the pull and the goal and pathways projects matching infrastructure and support, I'm creating a much better chance of actually accomplishing that. So this is obviously, like I said, I didn't have a chance to go over everything, and I also didn't have a chance for you to really work through the process yourself. So I'm actually offering monthly workshops via the District 1, which is down in Southern California. So if you want to take a screenshot of this QR code, and I'll drop the links once I'm finished with this presentation, so I can't multitask too many times. I'll drop the link so you can actually sign up, and we'll have about 90 minutes. Actually, it'll be 90 minutes, and then we'll stay on for about 15 minutes or so for Q&A. So there's going to be a lot more time where I can get you to work on your own goal and not to just listen to me, talking about something I'm obviously very passionate about. And I've also been creating some short videos on some of these ideas that you're welcome to go take a look. And it's on the YouTube channel for District 1. And we just put it up yesterday. So there's only probably like 2 views right now, but it's just because we just put it up. So, and I would appreciate if you could give me some feedback. So here's a QR code and a link to a feedback survey. And I am going to pass it back to Reggie, and I'll answer any questions, and I'll drop the links. I'll drop the links in the chat.
Thank you so much, Pauline, for just giving us all like a new perspective of looking at pathways, about how all our speeches need not just be about what's written in the project description, but could be things that we are passionate about working on, our side hustles, side projects, and things like those. So I think I'm pretty sure a lot of us did not think of pathways like that. We often put ourselves in a box saying, hey, this is where we just talk, and we talk about talking instead of things that we do on the side. So that was very, very insightful and useful. So any questions in the audience, anything specific that you would want to ask, questions that you may have, questions that members have been asking you as you ask them to engage on pathways? Okay, while folks are coming up with the question.
Right. So I just dropped some links into the chat. So the first one is called a path and core competency catalog. That's from Toastmasters. It listed all the paths and all your available projects. So that's a good PDF just to have handy when you're looking through or matching your projects. The feedback survey and the registration link for the workshop, and also the video series. So yeah, any questions?
Perfect. So, Pauline, in your experience, folks who have looked at pathways differently, what has been an usual timeline to make progress with their project, or is it very strictly aligned with their projects, do you think?
So you're absolutely right, Raji. It's that many people feel like you have to do projects exactly the way that it's written in your project description. But if you really look at it from a more flexible and open perspective, is that it doesn't say anything, right? Because it's always said about your own topic or your topic of interest. So really, I think that's why I'm giving these workshops or these presentations, because I really want to bring in the awareness that you really can do anything you wanted to do. But in terms of timeline, this is what I usually would recommend is 1 project a month. That would be like, say we have like a club that's about 20 to 30 members. So you're not always filling in all the speaking slot, but you're also regularly doing something. So as about 15 projects, it's probably going to be about a year-ish to finish a path.
Right.
But the thing is that's why if it's a goal, if my goal is, that's why I would usually say a goal, say 2024. We're still in February, so we can still say New Year's resolution. So if 2024, it's a year, I could probably accomplish my goal plus finish up pretty much many of the projects along the way. And if I do, say, one project a month, it'll keep me accountable or keep me working on the stuff. Of course, my backyard garden might be a little aggressive, but it could just be, I want to get, so I was working with one of my club members, and she wanted to be a keynote speaker. So she wrote a 60-minute speech, and she just gave it at Stanford. And I said, well, why don't we break the speech down to different projects that you can improve that? And so I came up with two main categories. Number one is to promote herself as a speaker. And the second category is to edit or make her speech better. And so we mapped out like 10, 15 projects. So is she going to accomplish that in 12 months? I don't know. If she wants to work faster. And of course, and that's the reason why the club is important, is because if you have something you need to complete urgently, you can always work with your club and say, hey, can I give a speech every other week? Or can I give us, and certain things, like, for example, the project I just did, which is networking. I'm doing strategic relationships. So the mandatory project for level 3 is networking. You can attend a networking event that's outside Toastmasters as long as your vice president of education approves it, right? So I could do that easily within my own time frame and not have to even worry about the projects. All I need to do is just do a speech. So it really is about, so that's why what I try to do just now is to give you a very an overview, is because once you have the overview yourself, then you can start planning. If you're only taking a step at a time, you never know what's going to happen, right? And the example I give is that if I'm going to drive from LA to Chicago, say I'm going to take Route 66 or something, I'm probably going to map out everything in between. I know my destination is Chicago. I know I'm starting in LA. But the thing is that I'm going to know where am I going to take stops? Where am I going to spend the night? Are there any things in between that I want to see? Or are they like special, I think it's like a place in the middle where they had some funky things that I wanted to maybe spend half a day there, right? So I need to know, it's almost like the GPS. So that's why this whole process is like the GPS. Once I got the GPS, I know all the, 100 miles, and then I'm going to take another freeway, then I know I can plan it out. So kind of went all around for your question.
No, that totally makes perfect sense. A lot of the times when we put out these things as well, like you said, in our clubs itself, there could be somebody sharing the same interest and to give us more pointers. Chow, did you have a question?
Yes, I have a question for Pauline, not related to the discussion this evening, but I would like to check with Pauline on the strategic relationship. That's one of the paths, and the visionary communication. Could you speak a little bit about that too?
You want to know a little bit about the path itself?
Yes, thank you.
I am going to go ahead and, if you want to go ahead and click on that path and core competency catalog, it actually is it leads you to my cloud drive, and you'll be able to download the PDF. And this is just from Toastmaster. I didn't create this. So this actually is really good because it tells you every path. It gives you a little bit of introduction, and then it tells you all the projects you have to do. So if you just kind of I could go down to say visionary communication. So this path helps you build your skill as a strategic communicator and leader. So I'm just reading here. But basically what it does is that it helps you to, if you have a vision, for example, and you want to be able to develop and improve on that vision, this is a great path. And that's why I really want to invite you to consider coming to my 90-minute workshop, is because I lost my train of thought, is because everyone has, because I would go over a few more things about how to choose a path that I don't have, the time to talk about it here, is I divide all the paths into only 3 categories. I call them the me path, the we path, and the lead path. So the me ones, and I call them, these are the Lone Ranger paths. They're basically made up of speeches. only. And you don't really have to work with another person if you don't want to work. If you, like I said, that's why I call it Lone Ranger. So you can complete pretty much many of these by yourself. And then there's something called the we paths, which is like, I call it with a little help from my friends, because there are going to be some kind of projects, a collaboration that you need to work with others. And then the third category are the lead paths, which are basically focusing on leadership. So for example, team collaboration and strategic relationships are both leadership paths. And so, and another thing I would talk about, it's something like I said, the top-down, I call it the top-down approach, or knowing my endpoint. So for example, for strategic relationship and team collaboration, my level 5 project is lead in a volunteer organization. And lead in a volunteer organization requires you to complete a leadership position for a minimum of 6 months. So it could be like being a club officer, or it could be like what Reggie's doing as the program quality director. But it takes a long time to complete that project. And if you don't want to do that, or if you have no plan on becoming, say, an area director, for example, don't choose that path. So there's certain key points that you still have to consider when you are thinking about choosing a path. But all in all, like I said, if you look at the project itself, there's at least 8 to 10 projects on each and every path that does not matter. I could still apply it to what I just told you. And I literally applied every project, like 15 projects on my club's, the speech person. We mapped out 15 projects and all about her speeches and also promoting her as a speaker. So it really is, like, it takes a little bit of effort. It takes a little bit of time. And like I said, you have to kind of think outside the box. But it's definitely worth it, because now you have that whole game plan and you can just follow it and keep going. So yeah, so this is really good. You could just kind of like get a glance of everything. And so do you have a path trial right now, or are you thinking of choosing one?
No, I am on the level 4 of the path that I selected,
Mhm.
and it is I think it's
Presentation mastery.
exactly, yes.
Right. Yeah. Right. So the thing is, you can use the assessment that Toastmasters provide, but I can also tell you is it doesn't matter. I didn't choose. So it was funny. So remember at the beginning of COVID, they gave us a free path. If you've been at Toastmasters long enough, you remember they gave us a free path. So I was the vice president of education at that point. So my club said, "Could you show us how to get signed up for the free path?" So I was showing them. I was sharing screen and I was showing them, and I accidentally picked team collaboration. It was almost like that path picked me instead of I picking it, because I was trying to show them, but then I clicked the wrong button and then all of a sudden it just went through. But it was all good, because I became an area director and I learned a lot from that. And I had my own speech contest that was quite interesting, and we dressed up. So it turned out fine. It really is like, if something landed on you, or if for you had some inkling that you wanted something, just go for it, because you never know what's in front of you or what's going to open up for you. So I think it doesn't matter how, like that's why I'm trying to, I keep going back is the flexibility or the ability to adapt. And I think Toastmasters is a great place for us to learn how we can do that. And so pick something, and like I said, as long as you don't have anything that you really don't want to do, say for example, if you really don't want to do lead in a volunteer organization for 6 months, don't pick elite paths. And those are like strategic relationship, leadership development, team collaboration, and 2 more that I can't remember right now. So, but it tells you, right? Because that catalog, it's good, because now I can see the 5s. You can go straight down to the bottom, and you see what are your it's like what takes the most time and effort are the level 5s and the level 4s. So look down. Don't look at 1, 2, 3. Just look down at the 4 and 5. Are they something that you want to do? Or if you completely don't want to do it, then don't pick that path. So that helps you sort of, process of elimination.
Thank you, Pauline.
Any more questions, anyone? James, Jim?
Nope. I'm good.
Any feedback or any comments?
Well, this was kind of an interesting idea on the top down, as I've been bottom up before. This is a new concept to think about for me.
Yep. And I would say top down is definitely the way to go. And I know I'm pushing the boundaries from what Toastmasters is trying to tell us, but I don't see a reason why we can't do that. And that's why, if you have a chance, I got monthly workshops. Next one is going to be on the 28th Wednesday evening. But then you can really and have the time to really look at the fives in the top down and then work backwards. It's really it's just like we all look at GPS. We put in our destination and it tells you all the turns and all that stuff. So why aren't we doing that for pathways? No pun intended.
Thank you so very much, Pauline, for giving us all a new idea and a new approach to think about, because I think a lot of us have been making progress on our pathways, but we haven't thought about the top-down approach. So
Yep.
it might take us some time to kind of digest it, start applying it, and share that with fellow members of our club. But
Yep.
I thank you again for your time. We thank you so much for visiting us from District 1 all the way here at District 101. So thank you very, very much.
Yep. And if you have any questions, Reggie has my contact information. So feel free to ask.
Sure.
Thank you.
We'll be happy to fill up your inbox. Thanks everyone for joining in. If you have more questions, anything related to pathways, join us again on the first Tuesday of next month. We'll see you all next time.
First Tuesday or Wednesday?
First Tuesday. First and third Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. is when you can come in to discuss anything related to pathways, your speeches, any questions. We'll be happy to help.
Thank
Me
you.
or Karen would be here to help you out. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you, Pauline. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks, Pauline.